Well, hello there, ladies and gents. I'm Tammy Sipanuski. Thank you so much for popping by my channel for another LumaFusion tutorial. So in this one, I'm going to teach you the text or title glitch effect that's just very sporadic and random. But listen, this one is a little more complicated. There's going to be more effects and just little extra things that we do to this particular glitch effect. So it may not be something that you use in every single video, more for something specialized, like if you're doing the intro for your channel, something like that. So it's gonna take a little longer, so let's just jump right into it. Okay, so make sure you're at the spot where you wanna have that text glitch effect begin. And drop down a plain white title, double click that so that we can get to the properties window. We'll double click it again so that we can edit the text. Now I like to pick something that's a little bold and italicized. That looks good. And I also want to drop down the opacity right around the high 60s. That looks good. So let's go to frame and fit. Make sure we're all the way at the very beginning. And I see I'm at 2 minutes, 29 seconds, 0.22. I want to drop my first keyframe right there. And I want to advance it up till over basically a second. Now I'm going to drop my second keyframe. Here I'm going to go to blending. Right here I'm going to go to the beginning, drop a first keyframe right there, bring it down to where we stopped with the other one, drop another keyframe, advance one frame, and now we're going to pull the opacity of this down to about the low 20s, just till it's barely visible on the screen. So let's back out of this and just see what it looks like so far. Perfect. So what I want to do is make a duplicate of that title. And I want to go ahead and drop this new title just as that old one is fading out. Just a little more down. That looks good. So we'll double click on this. So now what we want to do here is we want to drop out any of the keyframes that we have. Make sure there's nothing there. We go back to the font. Now what we want to do is change the size of this font. We want to make it bigger, but we're not going to make it bigger by increasing the size. We want to make it bigger by stretching out the size. So how we're going to do that is go down to the X factor and pull the scale of the X out until both ends are almost reaching the end of the screen. Now we're going to go to frame and fit. We're going to drop our first keyframe here. Now we're going to advance 2 frames and we're going to pull this out even further. There we go. Now we'll back out of this and see what it looks like so far. Now there's going to be many layers to this, so we just have to be patient. And right where this drops out, we're going to cut that away and just throw it away. We're going to duplicate that main layer again. Drag it right about there. Okay, so we're going to double click on this to edit it. The very first thing that we want to do is increase the size of this, once again using the X scale. And pull this down, maybe also on the Y for this particular one. That's good. So what we want to do now is duplicate this, and we can do that just by hitting the plus symbol. Now we're going to bring that up, duplicate it again, bring it up again, and duplicate it one final time. Okay, so now what I want to do is add a shape. And how we do that is we hit the plus symbol all the way to the end of the left. We choose shape. And now what I'm going to pick is a line. So what I'm going to do is expand this line out. Make it pretty big, just with your finger, stretch it out. And I want it to cover parts of these words. Now I'm going to duplicate the line. Duplicate it again. We want one line for each title. And you don't have to put them exactly where I'm putting them. Duplicate it again. You can put these anywhere you want. Now what I'm going to do is turn all of these lines green, and then you probably know where I'm going with this. So now what I want to do is go to Color and Effects. We're going to go up to the key for Chroma key and hit Green Screen. Okay, see how it's very choppy? That's perfect. That's what we want. So let's go to Frame and Fit. We're going to make sure we're all the way at the very beginning, and we do that by hitting the farmost left reverse key. And we're going to pull this down from the top. Pull it way down like that. And here we're going to drop our first keyframe. We're going to advance it 2 frames and pull it a little bigger. Advance it 2 frames again, and we're going to pull it a little bigger. Advance it 2 frames again. Pull it a little bigger. Advance it 2 frames again, and pull it a little bigger, or a lot bigger. And there you go. So let's back out and see how this looks. Now remember, none of this looks right just yet. We still have a lot to do. Okay, so right where that stops growing, right there, we're just going to cut right there and throw that away. So now what we want to do is expand this out, because we are going to cut out sections of this. Cut here. Frame by frame, we're going to cut. And we're going to erase every other one. Okay, so let's pinch this back together, and let's see how this looks so far. Okay, we can even erase out another one from there if we wanted. If we thought it was too much, too busy, we can always chuck another one out. Okay, so what we want to do is duplicate this title again, and we are going to put it right after the green screen ones ended. We're going to double click that, and we're going to go to Frame and Fit and make sure we take out any of the keyframes that might be left over. So we're going to go to Size and Position, and right here we're going to drop our first keyframe. We're going to advance 2 frames, and we're going to run this to the right hand side of the screen to where a couple letters are showing. Advance it 3 keyframes and pull this all the way off the screen right there. Now what we're going to do is rotate this. So we're going to advance another keyframe, another frame, and then drop a keyframe, and now we're just going to rotate this 180 degrees. As close as you can get it to 180 degrees. That looks good. So now what I want you to do is advance another frame and pull the X factor out just to where it's barely showing the first 2.5 letters. Advance it 3 frames, pull it all the way over to the end of the screen. Advance it another 2 frames, pull it to little past half, advance another 2 frames, advance it past half again, another 2 frames, a little past half again. Now we're going to advance it 1 screen and a little past 0. So we're going to go to 3.7, advance another frame. We're going to go down to like in the low 4s, advance another frame, and we just want to bring that to about 2.5. Advance another frame, and now we're going to settle it perfectly on 0. Let's see how this looks. We just want to squeeze this a little bit. And let's see how this looks so far. And now we're going to erase that and throw that away. Okay, so we're going to duplicate the main title yet again. Double click it. Make sure there is no keyframes in here. Pull up the opacity. We're going to go to the main titles again. We are going to duplicate this a bunch of times again. This time we're going to put this over here. One more time. Okay, so what we want to do from here is just begin to change the opacity of all of these, just so it goes from lighter to dark. And they don't have to be lined up perfectly. Okay, so we'll start at the very beginning, just till it's barely visible. Okay, so now we want to go to frame and fit. Make sure we're all the way at the beginning. We're going to drop a keyframe, and we're going to squeeze it in from the left to right about there. Advance 2 frames, pull it out a little bit, another 2 keyframes, pull it out. Well, let's go ahead and, oh, shucks. Let's just go ahead and, just pull it out as far as it will go. Yes, right about there. So let's see how this looks. Okay, so we're going to cut that and drop it. And now same thing here, we're going to spread this out and chop it up. Okay, so now we're just going to erase every other one. Okay, let's see how this looks so far. Okay, we're almost to the end, guys. What we want to do is duplicate this frame one last time and bring it just a little past that final. Okay, we're going to double click on this. So what we're going to do here is go to frame and fit. Okay, so what we want to do is just completely swipe this off the screen. Advance a frame, and now we're going to turn this 180 degrees. Pull out 2 letters, advance 3 frames, pull it across. Let it go, advance 3 frames, pull it across. Let it go, advance 2 frames, and this time we're going to settle almost close to 0, like right around 5. We're going to advance 3 frames, advance 1 frame, bring it to negative, bring it down to like in the -3s, advance a frame, bring it up to in the 5s, advance another frame, and now we're just going to settle it on 0. So we're going to advance it 3 frames, drop a, another keyframe, Advance another frame, and now we're going to pull this off the screen completely again. Now we're going to advance a frame and rotate this back to 0. Okay, so let's move this in from the X to where the first 2 letters are showing. Advance 3 frames, pull it across the screen, advance 2 frames, a little past half, advance 2 frames, right there, advance another one, I'm just going to eke it right there, another, a little more, one more frame, pull it the other way, almost perfectly to 0, like right, I would say, maybe even at 2, advance 2 frames, drop another keyframe, advance a frame, and then just settle it right on the 0 mark. There we go. So let's see how this all looks all well put together. And what I want to do finally right here and cut that, and I'm going to pull up the opacity of this all the way to 100. So let's see how this looks now. And there you go. That was the last little glitch effect. So if you wanted to just cut anything out, like let's say you felt like it was too much, there was too much going on here, what we could do is pull out any one of these. We can get rid of some of these. Let me spread this out again. We can get rid of that. Get rid of these, or get rid of some of these. I actually want to make this a little darker too. There we go. Oh, this has to be pulled up from here, that's why. Okay, so let's see. And we can also cut it so that, like, we'll get rid of that one totally. It's the final little glitch effect. Now, if you find this is too lengthy, if there's just too much going on, you don't have to do every single little element that I've done. You can do any kind of element that you want to do. You don't have to use my exact pattern. You can change it up. You don't have to use any green screen if you don't want, or you could use a lot more green screen. It's totally up to you. These are just some of the things that I watched somebody's video while they were doing a tutorial in Premiere, and his beginning name of his channel popped up like that, and it was just sporadic and all over the place. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. I know it seemed like that was never going to end. But listen, you don't have to use every single one of these elements that you don't want. I just wanted to show you some of the different elements that you could use. So if you wanted to trim out a few of these different elements, this way your glitch effect is only going to last maybe 2 or 3 seconds max. That's absolutely fine. I just wanted to show you guys a lot of the properties and a lot of what you can do to get that glitch effect to work for you. But feel free to leave a lot out or add more stuff in, whatever your personal style is. That's completely up to you. So I thank you so much for joining me in this tutorial, and you know what I'm going to say. Until next time, wear your sunblock.